places, everyone. I apologize for the less than ideal setup, but this is the best I could do when you have no tripod and very little space. I can't even do this on my desk. Anywho, a little bit of a history lesson, because you can probably tell what the video title is today. Everyone knows the story about the original PlayStation. Released December 3rd, 1984, 30 years ago. Well, everyone knows that it was originally going to be a CD-based add-on between a collaborative effort of Nintendo and Sony. But things didn't exactly go as planned, and when Nintendo partnered with Philips, well, Nintendo ended up creating their biggest competitor for the time outside of Sega. And the rest is history. This was the original PlayStation controller, the very controller I tested out Crash Bandicoot 1 with when I was able to test out my PlayStation 1. I got this thing in North Carolina in 2023, and it only cost me $50, with the console and everything included. That was the very console I did my 16th Let's Play on, Crash Bandicoot Warp. Of course, the PlayStation 1 was basically, well, history in the making. It left quite an impact that, well, this is a bit unscripted, but not only was it beating, not only did it beat Sega in both, Japan and America and such. There's more to it than that. I'm just giving you the Cliff Notes version. But, let's just say they didn't stop improving from there. There was the little-known dual analog controller, which had bigger thigh grips and such. In fact, looking at this was basically a Super Nintendo controller with grips and shoulder buttons. And yeah, these were not L1 and L2, but they were L1 and L2, but they didn't have the L1 and L2 on them. But they eventually would make a controller that became Sony's de facto standard. I don't have a PlayStation 1 DualShock, but pretend this one is, because that's essentially identical to the PlayStation 2's DualShock. Except with one thing that the PlayStation 2 introduced, the pressure-sensitive buttons. I can't really go into the topic about them, since very little games make use of it. And yes, I own 5 DualShock 2s. And this is the one I played the most with. I remember playing Ape Escape on this thing. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The PlayStation 2 would go on to be Sony's best-selling console and one of the best-selling consoles of all time. What is there to be said about the PlayStation 2 that hasn't been said already? I mean, I even have 2 PlayStation 2 Slims. I'd get it out right now if my space was big enough, but unfortunately, when you live in a cramped space, you gotta make do with what you got. And, well, do you remember this controller when it was first revealed? Man, my hands were just cramping thinking about it. Yeah, I am so glad they stuck with this. This is the DualShock 3 controller, bundled with every DualShock 3, and, of course, came with motion controls. Apologize for the lighting. 6-axis. Yes, that's a palindrome right there. This had motion controls, and many wouldn't think PlayStation 3 with motion controls, but when the games used it, they used it, and yeah. I didn't really spend much time with a PlayStation 3 or 4, but I do have some games I want to recuperate for that system and such. I already have a few. I've been going through the PlayStation 3 Ratchet & Clank games. I'm currently on Quest for Booty. And we have to talk about the console that I don't own. My brother does, but I didn't want to bother him about playing it. And it's on this controller right here. This is the DualShock 4. One of the first ever drastic design changes, and this is an older model, as you can tell from the black buttons instead of the gray ones, and the lack of light bar you can see right here. And I want to get this thing fixed. This thing cannot hold a charge. It can only play wired and such. And this was what I did my Lemmings Let's Play on. And let's just say, I am so glad we're moving past micro USB. But even if I didn't really get to spend much time with this thing, and didn't get to experience the PlayStation 4 things first and foremost, at the very least, it still makes for a really good controller. And, yeah. My brother has a white PlayStation 4 along with a white DualShock 4 controller. Let me adjust the camera a bit. As you can see in the back there, that's my PSP. An inheritance from my late brother. That PSP needs its R button fixed and something spilled on it, and now that R button is a bit sticky. But surrounding the DualShock 4 controller is a bunch of Dualsense controllers, and these things. The DualSense controller has become one of my favorite controllers to play any PlayStation console with. That those grips are just way too small for me to even play games like Crash Team Racing on. My hands cramp up. In fact, that was how I played Crash Bandicoot Warped. I use these things for playing on the PlayStation 1, 2, and PlayStation 3. I've tried it on the Switch. I cannot play Splatoon because of the rumble motors. I highly recommend these things if you are a fan of the DualSense. You can even use your DualShock 4 if you want. I hope your DualShock 4 works. So, now for the main event. What are we here for today? Well, something came in the mail earlier this morning, and I've been waiting all day to open it. This thing. 10 years ago, they made the DualShock 4 20th Anniversary Edition with the exact same color palette. I never owned one of those things because at the time, I was in high school. I had no job or anything. And by the time I was able to do that kind of stuff, be able to afford these kind of things, well, good luck trying to snag one secondhand. It's impossible. The console even more so. Maybe I might do a second video where I decide to just get some custom shells since there's no custom covers for the original owners, and those gray covers only came for the special edition bundles. And I am jealous of those that did get it because it's such a beautiful looking console. Even if it is a bit wacky looking. But I waited all day to open this, and yes Zoe, I am making a video about PlayStation. Please leave the controllers alone. I might as well rename this video to opening the 30th anniversary DualSense featuring my cat. Zoe, please don't rub your head against the very thing I'm using as a makeshift tripod. Zoe. Oh. Come on. Turn around. This way. Zoe, this way. Zoe. Couldn't. Freak. Yes, that's my cat. I apologize if I had trouble trying to move her with holding one hand. Just stay there. Just don't interfere with the setup. As you can tell, one of my recent additions to the DualSense before this controller was that Chroma Indigo controller right there. It is a very beautiful controller. And this is the best lighting I can get. But now, let's open this thing. I've wanted to make this moment special. Around 2023 was when I got my PlayStation 5. And boy, what a birthday that was. And I've since become more savvy about using it. In fact, I think I know of a better thing I can use to open this thing. To edit around this. Let's use one of these plastic spudgers. Don't want to damage the product too much. So, easy. As you can tell from the inside, I apologize if the lighting doesn't show it, you can see all these consoles right here. And you see the VR, the various PlayStations, the various pieces of media, the DualShocks, the DualSenses, the Edges, the Pocket Station, the Portal, the multi-tap even, a lot of it. Too many to even name. And already, man, this is just beautiful to look at. So you're probably wondering, how do you get this thing out of here? It's so tightly packed in here. You see that little tab? Let me get it up. You see that little tab right there? You're supposed to push that in. And then, you just slide it out. Oh. Oh my gosh, it actually comes in one of these packages. Oh. Sorry, just seeing this makes me so happy. I love how this looks already. I am making sure I keep the packaging in good condition. Let's just move this to the side. So, I'm going to probably add a sound effect in the video to basically add for dramatic effect. So, if I can actually open this. Gotta be careful. It's in black packaging. And to check on the sides, there's nothing in there. And this is your rigmarole and instructions and such. I might also get myself like a 3D printed USB housing, since they didn't bother to at least make those 3D housings like for all editions. But, alright. Gonna have a sound effect for dramatic effect. Oh, it's so much better in person. Oh my goodness. The jewel-like buttons, the colorful buttons, the touchpad and everything. And even the home logo. Just everything about this thing. Just all of it. And before I go anywhere, like, the packaging is reminiscent of the PlayStation 1. But I think in other territories they have like different colors or different ways to stylize it. There's even the model number if you're curious. But my goodness, I am very happy. I wish I could get the Dualsense Edge version of this, but unless I can get it for like only for the lowest second-hand market price, that's gonna be quite the hefty pay. But yeah, and then on the back, it's going to be a bit faint. PlayStation 30th anniversary. Like, you see all those, it's hard to see on this camera specifically, but on higher definition cameras, you can see where it shows the PlayStation icons, and it would have, well, let me just look at it closely. Yeah, I think there's a 30 in there. Yeah, there has to be. But yeah, just, it's amazing how they can make such a simple color look so special. My backup plan for this, if I wasn't able to get one of these, would have been to just get a used white Dualsense, get a custom shell, and replace it that way. Just to at least have it get close enough, but yeah. It's amazing what difference 30 years can make. I am just so happy to have this thing. It's finally within my grasp. 2 months of waiting. I got up at like 7 in the morning when these things went live. Took whatever was available, and Walmart was the one that was available for this. And I'm just awestruck. I am just so happy to have this thing. So happy it came in these special packagings. Like, seeing the consoles and such makes me wish I had one of those so I can experience opening one of them again. But yeah, what better way to celebrate 30 years of PlayStation? 20 years of PlayStation? Am I just playing some PlayStation 1 games? I have the Brook Wingman adapter. So yeah. Talk about one amazing controller. Anyways, if you want to donate, there are a couple links in the description below. Any amount helps. If you want to subscribe for future videos, it's just the subscribe button and the bell, and you'll be on your way. Until then, take care of yourselves, and I shall now bid you adieu.
PlayStation